Hey everyone, this is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two great friends recap romance novels while giggling, swooning, and generally being the most excited ever. This week, we're going to start with some big updates. The first is that this March of 2022, this month, is our annual Patreon fundraiser. For every new and increased Patreon pledge, we're going to double that and donate it to World Central Kitchen to support refugees worldwide. Last week, in anticipation of a super successful fundraiser, we donated $1,000 upfront to Razum Emergency Response because we thought the immediate need in Ukraine was too critical to wait until the end of the month. So head to patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms podcast to treat yourself to some wonderful bonus content and other goodies while simultaneously doubling your money to support Ukraine and providing hot meals to refugees around the globe. Speaking of other goodies, if you sign up at the Feminist Boner tier or higher, you can look forward to some really sweet changes to our book club. We're going to host book club monthly now and feature an author every 2 months. This Friday, March 11th, we'll be talking all about Tessa Bailey's phenomenal books, starting with the dirty talk, obviously. Then, in April, Tessa Bailey is going to join us for book club and do a virtual hangout. And this is the new format. So on odd months, we'll talk about a specific author's work, and then on the even months, that author will join us. I'm really stoked about this program. I can't even begin. And thank you, Sally Thorne, for helping us think of it accidentally, just by being yourself. Now we have a book featured in my other book club. In January, members of the Bonkers Romance Book Club got advanced ebook copies of both Something Fabulous by Alexis Hall and The Immortal by Gina Showalter. So since he's one of Nat's favorite authors ever on the planet Earth, we had to make our first recap together all about a raucously sweet road trip romance that is the antidote to all things pandemic. So, here's Nat and I recapping Something Fabulous by Alexis Hall. Oh, hello, Natalie.
Hello.
It's Natalie. Holy shit, it's Natalie.
Here I am.
Oh my God. Thank you for joining me.
I am excited. You know, some folks that have listened to the podcast for a long time and haven't skipped over those episodes might have known me from Ask About Us, but I've never recapped a book.
Right.
Here I am.
And we're changing that today.
Doing it. And I'm really excited about this book. I was excited about this book before it came out. As we're speaking, it is still not out because we're really special. And we have this book because of Bonkers Romance Book Club.
Yeah. So Nat and I have the advanced reader copy of Something Fabulous by Alexis Hall because it was one of our January books for Bonkers Book Club.
Have you read any Alexis Hall before?
No, I don't think I have. I thought I had, but then when reading this book, I was like, no, I would remember this voice.
He has 1 million books.
Oh.
Once you start going to your library and figuring that out, like figuring out who he has 1 million books and you can't possibly read all of them. Like it's a million. And some of them are mysteries.
I think I
and
might
some
try.
of them are, you should. And there's a lot of them that are and his voice is just, it's so unique. It's a little Talia Hibbert-ish. And maybe that's just because they're both from the UK.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like it's very conversational. It's very dry. And I just love him.
You were so excited when we let you know that it was one of our January books. And you were like, oh my God, Alexis Hall is one of my favorite authors ever.
Yes.
So we're doing Something Fabulous.
And I don't know if Heaving Bosoms has ever done an advanced read copy of anything before.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see if anything that we talk about is not in the actual book.
Is edited out. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh.
So it'll be interesting. This is going to be like a collector's edition podcast
Yeah.
episode.
I love it. Oh my God. And I fucking loved this book.
It is a romp.
Oh my God. Like interviewing him, because we interviewed him for the temple, for Bonkers Temple. And then we released it wide, actually, because we liked the interview so much. But interviewing him, he was just like, yeah, I started with COVID and I was just like, this sucks. And I'm going to write a book like that. I'm just going to put anything I want in there.
Yeah.
And it struck me then, but like, it's so funny that he wrote an escapist book, but writing it was an escape too. Yeah. Because it's a road trip romance. Like you're not in one place for like barely even a night. For
like
a
even
lot of it.
Like an hour sometimes.
Yeah. It's so fun. Okay, so should we start?
Yeah, heck yeah. Yes. Okay.
So we start in
the prologue.
A drawing room.
Yes. Ugh. And we're from a female's perspective, which I was like, when I started reading this, I was like, how?
I don't even know if I remembered that. Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, so we're in the mind of Arabella Tarlington or something like that. Tarleton.
Arabella. Yeah. Miss Arabella Tarleton.
And she's getting proposed to, but it's going badly.
And she's not going to admit that this guy's good looking.
No, she refuses, even though he is obviously like basically a Greek statue. Okay.
He's #typical Duke.
Yeah. He's romance Duke.
Yes. He's tall. He's got the good eyes. He's very glowery. You know?
Yeah. And he's very like, our fathers wanted us to get married when we were wee tots, and I'm honoring my dead father's memory by I'm gonna do a marry on you. And she's like, you're not gonna do a marry on me. I don't want you anywhere near me.
And the only thing that he can notice about this whole situation is like, maybe she has to poop.
Yeah.
She's like, the quail was bad, right? That's the only thing you could possibly have that would be a problem, and why you would not be interested in all of this.
All of this and all of my pocketbook and everything. He's like, you're obviously ill, and that's fine. But we're going to get married, and I'm going to save your whole family because you're financially ruined.
Yeah.
And I'll pay for everything, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
And she's very like, I hate you. And he's like, that's fine. Yes. I really don't care either way.
It's literally no worries.
Not an issue for me. All right? Okay, bye.
Yes.
So he fucks off to his room, and he's staying there with them like overnight because they have like a country estate.
I had a hard time figuring this out because like it took a really long time for me to be till later where I was like, he was at their house and he just totally soused himself with like a bottle of liquor. He was like, hi, I know you're in dire straits, but I need a whole bottle of liquor for myself. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And like, did he drink alone in his room, or like, was he inappropriate in front of the family? He had to have been alone in his room, right?
But he has,
for sure.
Yes, he has a Regency hangover.
Oh, God.
Yes.
And there is no curing that, you know?
I bet there was like an egg yolk. Like an egg yolk something that they mixed up. You know there was.
Completely.
Some sort of, oh, yeah. The only reason I know that is because of Pride and Prejudice. Because the mom, do you remember the scene after the ball? And she's like cracking it in. But even she's like, I can't even contemplate. She's like, yeah.
And frankly, I don't blame her. There's no way. I would be like, I'll be sick for 4 days before I drink a raw egg.
And as a 35-year-old woman, I will be sick for 4 days.
Yeah, I've just gotten used to it.
That's my hangover situation these days.
This is my life now.
Yeah.
Okay, so then in the wee hours of the morning.
It's like 4 a.m. Yes.
Like he is firmly still drunk. He gets woken up by a very frantic Bonnie Tarleton.
Bonnie. And what
Bonaventure.
Is it? Bonaventure Tarleton. They both have just very adventurous names. And boy, did they both live up to them. It was aspirational.
Yeah, completely. I feel like they got their theatrical side from like both their parents.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
There was no one was theatrical or the other. It had to be both. So Bonnie is Belle's twin brother.
And they're both tiny people.
Yeah, they're pocket-sized.
They're pocket-sized blondes.
He's got like curly, wavy blonde hair, and he's 5'4". But
I did appreciate he's a soft 5'4". They did talk about that, and I loved that because I feel like that mid-range person is never. I mean, thankfully, we are getting some great plus size rep in romance, but we're not getting just like mid-sized person rep. Like, literally, they're like, it was like, he's a soft 5'4". It's like how they described him later on.
Yeah, and at one point, Bonnie describes himself as, well, squishy.
Yes.
And I really liked that.
Yes.
I was like, I can identify with that.
Bonnie's not putting in the work to get a six-pack.
No.
Because he has his priorities straight. He's got honey and jam and bread and cheese priorities.
And romance novel priorities.
Yes, heck yes. Yes.
They read like all of the books they can possibly get their hands on. The saucier, the better, these Tarleton twins.
Yeah.
So he shakes Val awake and he's like, you motherfucker, Belle's gone.
And it's because of you.
Yeah, and it's because you did such a bad job at that proposal.
Yes. However you did it was wrong.
Yeah, and Val was like, you can't propose wrong.
Yeah.
Like, Valentine the Duke cannot propose wrong because am Duke.
Yes.
Like,
that should be enough.
in any way, and it's fine.
Yes.
And he's like, no, you show me how you did it. Show me. Do it right now. Propose to me as you did to Belle.
And poor Valentine is like, can I go back to bed if I do this?
Yeah.
Then I will try. And he showed him, and Bonnie was like, well, there's your problem.
Yeah, that's no wonder she beat feet out of here.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You did not wax poetic in any way.
Right. He's like, you didn't tell her that she's beautiful. You didn't tell her that, like, you would be the most honored man in existence.
But
and,
I wouldn't.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't feel those things. And Bonnie's like, wait, she is beautiful, though. And he's like, sure, but what does that matter to me?
Yeah.
It's so funny. So by the end of this scene, and I feel like, Nat, as I was reading this book, I started highlighting, okay? Because the first, 10 pages, I would just spontaneously smile and giggle, every 3 seconds. I shit you not. At least, 3 times a page. I was just like, oh, my God.
And there are so many. And the other thing that I loved about this book is there are so many little hidden gems in it. And there's things that are hidden. Now, and maybe this could have changed in an edit or something, but there is definite slang that that I was like, I see this because I'm a 2022 lady person, but yeah, so it was like, it's some of the parts I was like, okay, well, that wasn't the word that we would have used there, but that's okay. But I think
at one point somebody says something like, "Get out of my face."
Yes.
And I was like, I love it. I don't care. I love it.
I know. There was another one that I had highlighted and it said something like, on the subject of points, do you have one? And I was like, ooh, 1990s burn right there.
Oh, is that a 19? I was thinking that was like a parliament burn, you know, like point of order kind of situation.
Oh,
but yeah,
maybe.
I feel like either way.
I feel like Claire from Clueless might have said something like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
I don't know. But there was this one part, and I think this is in this part of the chapter. It's before they discover, but he says something like, if we lived life as though it were a novel, we'd spend all of our time becoming embroiled in improbable adventures and spouting nonsense about filling our vast and empty souls. And it was basically like everything that happens with Arabella and Bonnie the whole time. And they're like, yeah, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, that's how we're designing our lives, if at all possible.
Exactly.
Like, what do you want from me?
Yes.
Oh my God, it's so good. So Bonnie is like, get dressed. We are going to get her. And he's like, again, this feels like very much not my problem.
Yes.
But then Bonnie's like, think about your Dukely reputation. How is it going to look if your fiance fucks off to the Americas or something? And Bella's like, oh, I've spent my whole life designing myself so that I don't get close to anyone.
Nobody notices me.
Nobody notices me, and no one can say a goddamn bad word about me.
Yes.
I'm the blandest, most boringest, goodest. There's no brothels in his world.
Nope.
He's not duking it up anywhere.
We haven't found out yet.
Oh. But we get to say something very important later.
Yes, exactly. And he also is like, and I can't go anywhere because I don't have my valet.
Yeah.
Okay?
Which I was like, Val, how, pray tell, were you going to get home then? You know, how did you go to bed at all?
Yeah.
If you, quote unquote, can't go anywhere, well, maybe because he wasn't going to be out in public.
He was going to go straight from Surrey to his house. Maybe. Yeah,
maybe. But he was like, I have the best valet in the whole wide world, and I wasn't going to inconvenience him with a 2-day trip to Surrey.
Yeah. He's got priorities, and this isn't one of them.
Right. I just had to come here, spew some words at your sister, and then
do
leave.
the thing. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So Bonnie's like, nope, you were doing it. Like, we got to get you dressed.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up, oh my God. So Val starts like tying his cravat.
Yes.
And Bonnie gets very impatient and he gets very close. And he's like in his face to the point where like Val turns his head to look at him and like their noses almost brush.
He talks about the feel of like his finger grazing against his neck. And so the tension and kind of what we find out is Val's awakening happens. And it starts from chapter 1. It starts like you can already feel Valentine's connection to Bonnie from chapter 1. And he'll, even when he's describing him negatively, he's still doing it in a flattering way.
A flattering and sometimes very sexy way.
Correct. Oh, yeah. Yes.
And there's so much in the next couple of chapters. There's so much like, yeah, and his hand left my sleeve and that was good. That was a relief.
Yeah,
it was nothing but a relief.
Yeah, it was. He said something like he's not prepared for the reality of an unadulterated Tarleton beneath his fingers. Like just the wording.
Stick. Oh my God. All right, so they get him dressed, and they can't get his coat on, which I found to be hilarious.
How did he get it off?
I don't know. I wonder if they, like, lent him a valet? No,
or maybe it's
rich
easy to get it off. Like, maybe if you, sorry, listener, there's a lot of physical movements happening.
Yeah.
If he, like,
if you go tits
slide it off, but maybe he
then
can't
getting it back on.
Get it back on. I don't know. Not sure.
Anyway, it's tailored all to hell.
Yeah. He cannot physically get his coat on. He's probably just too jacked for it because of all the pugilizing he's been doing.
Oh
and
my gosh.
Bonnie's like, I will find you a coat.
And
he returns.
BRB.
Yeah. He returns back with the assistant gardener's coat. Not just the gardener, because the gardener would have been too small to fit Valentine. Because Valentine is
he's like 6'3" or 6'4".
He's a giant man with all of the muscles.
Yeah. So they like head out, and the curricle scene is so cute because Valentine is trying to be like, ugh, everything sucks about Bonnie.
Yes.
Except that, God, he's so good with these horses.
Look at it. He's like talks about his like assertive hand and like clever grip. And I'm like,
oh yeah.
Tell me more about this clever grip.
And the
Valentine.
way he can see that Bonnie's intuiting his horse's emotions and stuff. And he's like, I have no choice but to respect a person who is good with horse flesh.
Yes.
Like I can't fault him for this.
Yes.
Oh my God. It's so good. And we're not doing the banter justice. I'm going to tell you that right now.
It is constant. It's constant. It's sneaking in. And like in this chapter, you know, they're leaving and they're talking about like, well, where is she gone? And he's like, I don't know. She's buggered off, absconded, exit, pursued by bear. Like that's like, it's just like, there's so many things. And he's just so dang smart. And he uses so many dang big words. And it is like I think I said this to you, Mel, like earlier this weekend, but I was like, thank God for the Kindle dictionary feature because I would have been lost. Like truly lost by all of these large ass words. Just like these, he would win at Scrabble every time.
It's wonderful.
Yes.
Like it's just, it's like, I want to call it flowery, but it's not even that because it's still so sharp. Everything is so sharp and efficient and
there's not unnecessary words for sure.
No.
I would love to talk about how Bonnie describes himself really quick during this bantery section, because he describes himself thusly: a delectable package of pocket succulents, admittedly, but untitled, penniless, mortgaged to the bullocks, dependent on my sister to marry, so we don't end up servicing sailors on street corners.
And then Val goes, do the sailors have a say in this? And he's like, I would be very well received by sailors.
Sailors love me.
Darn it.
He would be. He would be.
He would.
Oh, man. And it's God. So you kind of get the vibe like it has been only Arabella and Bonnie forever. They have been raised by their very generous, very kind, very loving aunt and uncle, but boring as hell. And they have lived, like, they have heard about books, but they've only ever had the uncle's boring books about pigs and stuff like that. So they've had to write their own book. I'm pretty sure they invented fan fiction. And
I think so.
They pretty much have just created these whole worlds for themselves through their imitation novels and then are now using this road trip to live them out.
To enact all their adventures. Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
they made up this fictional world called Acadia, right? Arcadia? Arcandia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. And there's like, look, Bonnie puts us all to shame. There are at least 212 dukes in Arcandia. Okay.
Vampires, pirates,
no,
everything. Yeah. There's so many dukes, and they're all into Bonnie. They're all, it's a world where, yeah.
And Bonnie, all he ever writes is romance.
Yes.
Belle will write like mysteries and other stuff, but like if Bonnie tries to write something else, it always ends up being a romance.
Yes.
And I love him. I love him.
He believes that everybody can and should have a happily ever after.
Yes.
It's amazing.
I don't know where we find it out, but not a word is wasted. Mm-hmm. And they're like driving somewhere, and they'll have these whole conversations that clue you into their whole backstories and all of that. And one of those things is that he and Belle agreed that they would only marry for love. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and I can't, you know, because Val is like, well, you could find a lady out there who's got money. He's like, you're charming or whatever. And he's like, no, I actually can't.
Yeah, I literally cannot fall in love with ladies. No. And they have this really great discussion about how, well, why, like, but Val's pretty much like, well, choose not to do that.
Right.
And Bonnie's like, it's not a choice for me.
It's not a choice. It's who I am.
He calls Val Flower.
Yes. Okay.
So from the beginning.
Sorry. So here's what happens, right?
We're just talking about the book.
We're flailing. We're flailing, Natalie.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they have stopped to rest the horses and have a picnic at this point.
Mm-hmm. And it is jam and bread and cheese. Yeah. Classic road trip snacks. Yep.
Right. And a bee becomes very, very interested in Val. Mm-hmm. And he promptly loses his shit.
Yes. He does the opposite of everything you're supposed to do when encountering a bee. Absolutely flails, rolls around, runs away.
He's running and like flashing, like, you know, slashing his hands at it. He's running like back and forth. It was thinking about this like taciturn duke in his goddamn buckskin breeches, like high stepping it back and forth because
of a bumblebee. It's probably a bumblebee.
It is absolutely a bumblebee.
It's bumping into his face. It is like,
oh my God. And so then Bonnie saves him.
Yes.
He's like, hold on. And he has to get so close that Val can feel the breath on his cheek and stuff. Mm-hmm. And Bonnie like gets it and then, you know, shoos the bee away very gently. And he's like, what was going on with that bee? And Bonnie goes, well, I think it thought you were the most succulent flower.
Yes.
And then for the rest of the book, he calls it
flower. And it is like, and if you were going to picture like, no one would ever deign to call this guy a flower. Like they would never.
Nobody would dare.
Yes, absolutely. And it would be like he would never tolerate it from anybody else.
Oh no. Mm-mm. He would promptly throw them on the ground or something.
Yeah,
like,
whatever dukes do.
Get away from me.
Yes.
I'm a duke. Look
Take
at my
away their house
ring.
Or whatever.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Totes.
Whatever that is.
So this is when they have the conversation about marriage. And Bonnie's like, I can't fall in love with women. And Val is so confused. Like he's legitimately like, I don't understand.
Yes.
And Bonnie's like, I'm a gentleman who prefers gentlemen. And Val looks at him and there's like a beat of silence. And then he goes, is that possible?
Yeah. Like he's never even heard of it.
That exists in the world?
Yeah.
That's an option? I think he says that's an option.
Yes.
Which is very telling.
Yeah. I think later in the book he said, why wouldn't anyone tell me about this? Like,
right.
Yeah. Like, why would no one have said that this was even something you could do? And that's kind of where you kind of start to think like, because if you've read enough historicals, you know that the higher ups in the Regency and in the Ton they're doing the brothels, they're doing the parties, they're hearing about the stuff, they're hearing the gossip, and he does none of that.
No.
So he's not gossiping. He's definitely not going to brothels.
He has zero friends.
He has no friends. His mom's not talking about it, even though he loves his mother. His dad's not talking about it. Well,
is dead.
His dad is dead. But even before that, he wasn't.
He's too proper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's very tight-laced.
Yeah, the mom talks about how the dad, like, never really, like, relaxed around his son. Like, he always wanted to be the best example of a duke in front of his son. And then he died, so they didn't have time to, like, actually get to know each other.
Yes, exactly.
So he's like, I didn't know this was an option. So they have this whole wonderful, Bonnie is so patient talk about homosexuality and, you know, preferring people of the same gender and all the business. And it's really gorgeous, actually.
Yes, it's awesome.
And I loved how open Bonnie was from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because Val's very like, well, that's illegal, though. You can't marry someone that you love. And he's like, no, but we can do, like, all the things but the piece of paper. Yeah. And that's what I want. I want to be someone's everything. And, oh, it's so beautiful.
And then something happens about, I can't remember how it comes about, but basically Valentine talks about, like, you know, well, I could never, you know, be with someone like you. And then Bonnie goes, oh, go jump in the Thames, Glanville. You don't deserve me. Tosses his hair.
Oh, God.
Bonnie knows his worth.
Yes.
It's so great.
Oh, hey, HBs. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get over 150 bonus episodes, most of which include Aaron, videos of regular episodes, author hangouts, and so much more. Do you want to hear Aaron and I recap every single episode of Crash Landing on You? What about a little film called Psycho Stripper? Do you want more recaps of ridiculous Thanksgiving and other holiday books and movies? And how do you feel about Naima Simone and I recapping amazing reality TV? All of that and more is on the Patreon. There's so much content at your fingertips as soon as you sign up. Seriously, hours and hours. Anyway, it's patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms Podcast if you want to check it out. And of course, that link is in the show notes. Keep being a badass. I think this conversation ends with Bonnie asking Val what he's afraid of as far as love is concerned, because he's explaining that, like, he's not interested in love. He's completely indifferent about the whole thing. He has never been, like, into anyone. He doesn't.
It's not even. It's not. And I don't think that he thinks of his parents as being in love.
No.
Or, like, maybe, well, he thinks of his mom as being devoted to his dad.
Yes.
But
devotion is
really
different.
Think that that's something that he can have.
Right.
He doesn't see that for himself. It doesn't seem realistic to him in any way.
And so Val says, he's like, well, I'm afraid of being inconvenienced and bored. So right now I'm terrified. And there are so many, like, jabs like that at each other. It's so great because Bonnie's like, what are you talking about? You love it. And the chapter ends with Val being like, oh, I think I do. Oh, no. It's weird. Things are weird.
Yes, exactly.
So now they go to the inn that she's meant to be going to.
And because Valentine is exhausted.
Yeah.
And they are also like, we need to go to this inn because it's also, like, getting to be the end of the night, too. And they're like, we'll check and see if they're there. But they are under the assumption, or Valentine is under the assumption, that they're looking for because Arabella has left with her friend.
Friend Peggy. Yep.
And we know that, like, oh, well, Peggy usually goes where she goes, so they're probably together. So Valentine is going around these inns asking if anyone's seen two women. And he comes back and he's like, no, this one, no, either. They haven't seen two women. And Bonnie was like, oh.
Wait. So then they go to another inn.
Yes.
They go to an inn down the road. And the only reason I want to talk about it is because they do hold hands.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So,
well, yes. Is this when he puts his hand in his pocket?
Yes.
Because his hands are freezing.
Oh my God, I can't. I'm like vibrating in my seat. So they're headed to this other inn because there were no two bitches there. And so they're talking about it, and Bonnie is like, you have to stop calling me Tarleton. Like, it has to stop. You have to call me Bonnie. And Val is like, first of all, I will absolutely not do that because we're not intimate enough for me to use your first name at all. But mostly because Bonnie is a ridiculous name that no one should have. Bonnie's like, I have it and it's wonderful and it suits me.
Yes.
So then Valentine's like really, really cold. His hands are super cold. And Bonnie's like,
because he's not in his coat and he's like, doesn't have his stuff.
Yeah.
And
he doesn't have his like writing. No, he has writing gloves, but he's still like super cold.
Yeah.
And Bonnie's like, just go ahead and put your hand in my pocket. It's fine.
Yeah.
And he's like, no.
Yeah.
No. Under no circumstances am I going to do that.
That's something I should do. Yeah.
But then Bonnie starts sort of sniping at him because Bonnie has literally never been away from his sister. Ever. At all.
Yes.
He talks about the twin bond being sacrosanct. Yes. They're really, really close. And so he's really hurting right now. And before they even left the house, Val was like, are you crying? Like, are you tearing up right now? And Bonnie was like, no. He totally was.
Yeah.
So Bonnie's getting more and more worried and upset and like, also pretty resentful because if she was going to run away, why the fuck wouldn't she bring him?
Yep, exactly. And so he's a little bit worried for her safety, part A. He's a little bit worried because she's making a crazy choice and what's she going to do? But he's also like, sad she's having this adventure without him.
Yeah.
And she chose not to trust him with this information.
Yeah.
She chose to trust Peggy with it.
Right. And so because of that, he sees Val as the reason for her departure. And so he's getting more and more like irritated after a while. Because Val's also like not making a great impression. He's grouchy, he's mean.
He's just going along with this because he thinks he has to.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's not really worried about her safety because he's kind of like, well, if she ran away, that's her choice. And like, you know what I mean? Like it's her fault, basically.
So at some point, Val is like, okay, Bonnie, listen, I am sorry that I'm like indifferent and I'm not passionate and I'm not any of the things that like you or your sister want in a partner or whatever. But like, can you cut me a break?
Yes.
And Bonnie's like, well, you know what? I am worried about her. And so I took it out on you. Okay. And then he's like mad. And we're in Val's head. And Val's like, I just really don't like it that he's not smiling and happy. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to make him smile and happy. And he goes, yes, Tarleton, may I put my hand in your pocket?
Because Bonnie has tried to get him to do it. He's insisting that he's not interested. And then,
And then Bonnie says, I will under one condition. You have to call me Bonnie. And he's like, no. And he's like, call me Bonnie. No, I won't. Say it. They go back and forth on this. And finally, he's like, okay, Bonnie.
Yeah.
And then he puts his hand in his pocket. And it's a warm and it's an intimate.
And like, maybe Valentine doesn't understand like what that might mean. But I bet Bonnie understands what that might mean. Like,
stoked.
Bonnie has had people put their hands in his pockets a couple of times.
Okay.
So
that's right.
So he knows exactly what he's feeling in this moment.
That's right. Bonnie might be a spring chicken, but he is not naive. I'll tell you that much.
No. Bonnie takes his chances when he can.
I love it. Ooh, takes big swings, that Bonnie.
He is the king of seizing the moment.
Yes. So they get to this other inn, and then Bonnie's like, oh, head smack. Peggy's obviously dressed as a boy. God, I'm so dumb. Yeah. And Val's like, what? What are you talking about dressed as a boy? He's like, Peggy sometimes dresses as a boy. What? Get in. We're going. We have to go back.
Normal stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's like, what is it? What is it about Surrey? Like, is it the mushrooms? And one of my favorite lines in the whole book, Bonnie says something like, yeah, Val, it's the mushrooms. They all make us true to ourselves. Like, it's so good.
Yes. It's so great. They talk a little bit, and I'm not sure if we're here yet, but they talk a little bit about like, doesn't it seem peculiar to you that you like all these things? Like, doesn't it seem peculiar that you are interested in men, that you fall in love with men? Doesn't it seem peculiar to you that Peggy dresses as a boy? And so basically, like, Valentine's like, am I the only one that thinks this is weird?
Right.
And everyone else is like, we've never been told that it's not.
Right.
Or that it is weird. Yeah. So therefore, it's not weird.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's just us.
Yes, exactly.
And that's exactly how the world can and should be. So, like, get with the program, Valentine.
Yes, and also like everybody else.
Every fucking buddy else. Okay? It shouldn't have been the 1950s that gay marriage was decriminalized in the UK. Jesus.
Yeah,
Maybe it was the 60s.
truly.
I don't remember. I'm not a UK historian. I'm not a historian at all.
I'm not.
What is?
We already talked about. I don't know half these words, so therefore, I'm not even going to try.
It was post World War II. I know that much. Okay. So they get back to the other inn, which is like the Drunken Duck or something.
And they had already been there.
Yes.
And they came back and they were like, remember us? I'm a duke.
Oh, hey.
I am a duke that is looking for somebody, a man or a boy, or like a boy and a young, two people traveling together.
One is blonde. Okay.
Yes.
Pocket sized.
And they were like, nope, shoot, haven't seen him.
Yeah.
And they were like, but we do have one room left in this inn.
Yeah. But then he's like, oh, wait, we do have like a boy and a girl upstairs. I don't know. Like, you asked me about 2 girls last time. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
But we do have another room left. And Bonnie's like, fabulous. We're going to get that room. We're going to do a nice sleepsies. And in the morning, we're going to have a very calm conversation. And Valentine, one thing that we haven't told you about him is that he does have a bit of a temper.
Yeah. And he talks about that he's been trying to keep it in check his whole life. He knows that he has it.
Right.
But he's never really put in situations where he's irritated. He's never irritating himself. No. He's never, rocking the boat. He's not, you know what I mean?
He sort of refuses to be in uncomfortable environments. And so he knows he has a temper, but he also doesn't really have any of the tools to control that at all. And like, there's a piece of him that I think doesn't really care to. He's just like, this is me.
He doesn't have to.
Also,
like, you know what I mean? He's never really, like, if he gets upset, it doesn't matter because he's right by default.
Yeah. So he goes bounding up the stairs, like 2 at a time. And he starts kicking in doors, which I found to be very aggressive, Natalie.
Yes.
And then
yes. A lot of the reactions in this book were maybe a little higher than I would have reacted.
I loved it.
Yes, I did too.
Oh my God. I would not want to hang out with any of these people except Bonnie.
Yes.
And Val later. I want nothing to do with Val right now. Val can go kick a can.
Yes.
But like,
or a door.
Or a door right now. So the last door he kicks in, boy, is there Peggy going down on a super naked Belle.
Super naked.
Just like splay-legged and having an orgasm. Incredible.
Yes, right there in that inn. But like, wasn't Peggy just downstairs?
That was an hour ago, Natalie. They had to go an hour there and an hour back.
Oh, that's right.
So it's been a minute. They've had a meal, they've done a bathe, and now they're doing a go down.
Yeah, I mean, I got the things out of checked them off the list.
That's right. We're just putting together a good day. Okay?
Yes. We escaped.
That's right.
Riding that high.
And now we're going to live our best lives.
And let's just say that Valentine does not handle the situation well. And I think that's going to be a through line for this whole book.
The whole thing. Oh, yeah. Not only, what I find hilarious, though, is that he's still just as baffled as to what's going on here. He's like, well, my fiance is why would 2 women, what are they? Oh, these are very odd friends.
Yes.
I don't get it.
But he also doesn't know what Peggy is doing to Arabella.
Yeah, like he knows that it's like a no-no place.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really get anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. We're getting, there's little Easter eggs. You're picking them up.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah. So he blows up and he's just like, this is ridiculous. I have not had a bath in 2 days. I hate your face. You need to stop being so dramatic. And we get our first glimpse of Belle. Natalie, do you want to take it away?
Well, okay. So Arabella Tarleton, I would think if it was 2022, Arabella would maybe be medicated in some sort of way.
Yes.
Because she experiences everything to extremes. Everything
and she loves
is in
that.
extremes.
Yes.
Yes. And she breathes it. She creates these situations. She's comparing herself to like Ophelia. Or no, I'm sorry. Valentine, like, it was like he basically like spoke derisively of Ophelia and
Right.
she's dead.
Yeah.
and Peggy's like putting in things like, yes, but she's also fictional.
Definitely still
like,
fictional.
Yes. And Valentine is basically like, no. You know, Bonnie and him had this conversation like, okay, we're going to be cool. We're going to be cool. We're going to like just explain it because you're not as bad as everybody thinks.
Bonnie is like, you're going to go and you're going to do a good propose.
Yes.
And
exactly.
you're going to win her over.
That she's beautiful.
Right.
Obviously, you've seen her naked. She looks great.
Great stuff going on.
You're going to tell her that you didn't really communicate the depth of your feelings. And then in the moment, Valentine loses all of that and he's like, you will obey me.
Yeah.
You will come with me.
You will
tomorrow.
show up to
They're
breakfast.
Like, yes,
and he looks
correct.
at Peggy and he's like, and you will be in a dress, madam.
Yes, exactly.
Which I was like, wow.
How offensive.
Fuck yourself.
Yes. And then he's like, good night.
Right.
You understand my point? And good night.
Goodbye now.
Yes, exactly. And he goes back to the room
and
with
she's
Bonnie.
Weeping on
yes,
the bed.
Exactly.
Full
she
weeping.
Is correct.
So now they're in the hallway, and around the corner comes Horley Cumwithers.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that he was in this part.
Oh
Horley Cumwithers is everywhere.
And he's
everywhere.
Magic. I'm sorry. Strike that from the record. I want to hang out with Bonnie and Horley Cumwithers. Those are the two people I want to hang out with right now.
Mm-hmm.
Peggy can come, but only if she leaves Belle behind.
Yes. Peggy is fine on her own.
Peggy's great. Yeah. She's very
kind of
big enabler. Thank you.
Yeah. Like she's telling Belle that this is a bad idea, but she's still allowing it to happen.
She's still like along for the ride.
And later on, it gets worse. So yeah, Horley Cumwithers comes up around the corner and he immediately identifies Bonnie as a sexy man. Just right off the bat.
Oh, yeah.
He knows Malvern from town. And Malvern hates him because he's a gossip and he's over the top and he's everything that Valentine is not.
Yes.
And so Valentine just like is like, oh, this guy, you have to be here right now.
Like basically out loud. Like he doesn't.
It's so rude to him, the whole thing. And Horley just is cool with it. He just rolls with it. And he's like, I'm getting the vibe that you're not really excited about me being here, but that's okay.
That's okay.
And
so he's like, oh, Malvern, what are you doing here? And Val's like, I'm here because I need to find my fiance. And and so Horley looks between Val and Bonnie and is like,
he's like,
fiance.
Wink. Yes.
I'm on board. And then he looks at Bonnie and he's like, how have I spent so much time in Surrey and yet missed so much of the beautiful landscape? And Bonnie's like, I don't know. I am beautiful, aren't I?
And Bonnie is like, hair tossing.
Oh, God.
I love this guy. He has great taste.
Yeah. And Val finally has enough and he's just like, get away from...
We're going to bed.
It's bedtime. So they get in there and Bonnie's like, I hate you. I hate you because that was the first time in my life that another dude hit on me.
Yeah. I'm usually having to like go seek things out with soldiers.
Right. and he's like, and I'm not in the mood because you were such a dick nose to my sister. What the fuck, man? That was not the plan.
Yeah.
And he's like, it doesn't matter. We're going to deal with it tomorrow. We're just going to go to bed now and whatever.
It will all be fine because I said it will.
Right. Am Duke gave orders. Done. So Bonnie's like, all right, well.
Actually, 1 second.
Yeah.
Bonnie says to him, you complete arse. Wait, I like arses. You complete something I don't like. Mustard. You complete jar of mustard. He's just fantastic. I love him so much.
So
and
he
he's
immediately starts disrobing.
Yeah.
And Val's like, oh, what's happening? What's going on over there?
Yes.
And he's like, I'm going to bed.
Yes.
Okay. This is how I sleep. So like, shut up.
Yeah.
And Val's like, okay, well, I'll sleep on this chair over here upright.
I'll be on the ground.
It's going to be totally fine. And finally, Bonnie convinces him to like get into bed. And he says like, Val, if you keep on acting like I'm going to, molest you in the night, I'm going to hurt you. So just get into bed.
But he has to help Valentine remove his boots.
Yes. And it's dark now.
Yes. And dark. Bonnie is naked. Because he sleeps naked. Because he's not going to sleep in his clothes.
No. And Val is sitting in a chair.
Yes.
So boy, does
Mm-hmm.
he see just like the liminal view of Bonnie
It's
coming
moonlight.
over in the
Yes.
dark and the moonlight. And he's like, oh my gosh, look at the way his muscles are on his
Mm-hmm.
arms. And there's this dark spot between his thighs that I'm very interested in.
I think I need to know more about it.
And then he's like, oh my God, one of my favorite lines is, what is it? He's taking off his boot and he says, oh God, okay. Valentine was wordless, senseless, hopeless, and adrift in the press of a hand cupped around his heel. He was worried he would never forget it, never stop wanting it again.
Yes.
It's so cute.
And this is, and it kind of takes that next step, like, okay, the hand around his, like his fingers around his cravat when he's removing the bee from his hair, like it's all kind of building, and then this is where he's like, it's different when Bonnie removes my boots.
Yeah.
It is different when this person touches me. It is not the same as everybody else. And so then he has to think about, why isn't it the same?
Yeah, what's going on?
Why would I feel differently about, and he has he struggles with that for a good majority of the book. You know, he's like, I get that this is different. I understand that this feels different, but he has no clue.
No
why.
Conception of why. And truly, till like 50% into the book, he cannot identify the feelings that he's feeling.
Correct.
He just knows that he really likes them. They're very specific to Bonnie.
And he knows that he holds Bonnie in this special place.
Yeah.
And he kind of even like tells Bonnie that later on, but he still has not figured out why or how or what.
Yeah. Oh. So then he's like, hey, it's dark there in bed. And he's like, hey, so does your sister feel the same way that you feel? And he's like, I don't understand what you're asking me.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, like, with Peggy or whatever, is she also attracted to women or whatever? And he's like, Belle is sort of just like attracted to attention, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you into it? Then she's into it.
Kind of. Yeah. Like, he's like, Peggy's no fool. She knows that this isn't a forever relationship, but it's nice for now kind of situation.
And also, I would guess that for somebody like Peggy, who doesn't want to follow the traditional societal path,
right,
having somebody that will show her attention and will at least go along for the ride a little bit. It's like, you gotta, I think at this time and place, she has to just go along with it and just kind of be like, yeah, well, it's nice that I have this.
Right.
It might not be forever, but at least I have it.
Yeah. Peggy gets the next book. The next book is about Peggy.
Really?
It is.
Good, because if it was going to be about Arabella fucking Tarleton, I was
not
sure I could go on that ride.
I don't know that.
Not yet. Maybe I need another book.
You know what?
She needs some character growth.
If
I believe in Alexis.
Anybody could redeem Arabella, it is Alexis Hall.
Yes.
He can make me love anything, I think.
Okay.
Like, it's dangerous.
Yes.
He has a dangerous power that he wields.
Yes. I know. It's probably partly the big words.
Right? I'm just like
I gotta trust him. You know what I mean? Like, he obviously knows what he's talking about. Look at all these words.
Yeah. Oh my God. And then they're laying there in the dark and he very quietly, he goes, Bonnie? And Bonnie says, yes, Flower. This time there was no irritation, just a kind of resignation. Would I be in Arcandia? There came a sudden stillness in the space beside him. Would you want to be? Yes, he whispered, but I don't know what I'd do there.
He goes, and Bonnie says, you could do whatever you wish. That's the whole point. And he goes, I don't think I know what I wish.
Yeah.
This lost little boy.
Oh my gosh.
He's not a boy, he's a man, but...
Oh my God. Gosh. And so Bonnie turned from his left side to his right until he was facing Valentine across the pillows, turning them into strange reflections of each other. Valentine felt the stir of his breath, caught afresh the scent of his skin, sweet as honey upon the tongue. There's still time for you to find out, he said. And there, safely unseen in the darkness, Valentine smiled wistfully, sliced a piece of truth from the core of his heart. Only in Arcandia, Bonnie. Only in Arcandia.
So, like, he just feels like he doesn't have the ability to find out or to discover himself in this world because he's this duke that has all these responsibilities and people paying attention to him.
And
so
expectations, and
he just knows the path that he was told about, and that's all he knows about.
Right. And he's incredibly duty driven. He's very rule oriented and duty driven. And yikes.
Okay, I think we probably need to put the gas on a little bit.
We do.
Because we have a lot more adventure.
Oh my God, there's so much that happens in this book.
I know.
Okay, so the next morning, they wake up and, shockingly, Belle and Peggy are gone. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who could have foreseen it?
Oh my God, no, and Bonnie is an octopus on Val, and Val likes it.
Loves it a lot.
Yes. But then he's like, oh my God, I don't understand what's happening. To push you away, get up. And he's like, what are you talking about? Belle's gone. I told her to be at breakfast. How is that? Like, this was a foregone conclusion. Yes. And he's like, yeah, okay.
yeah, whatever you say, Mr. Duke.
Yeah. So they have to go and try to find them. But in order to get that information, Bonnie needs to wheedle it out of an ostler by the stables.
I don't know what an ostler is. I'm going to assume someone's who's in charge of horses. And I think, according to this, someone very strong.
Oh, boy. Nice and strong.
Yes.
Is what he is. So Bonnie's like, if you tell us what's going on, whisper in your ear, whisper in your ear. And the ostler's like, I mean, we have a hayloft. And he's like, okay, Val, you stay here. I'll be like 20, maybe 30, like no more than an hour.
And Val has zero idea.
No idea.
Of what has been exchanged.
Yeah.
He knows this ostler is getting special Bonnie time.
Right. And he's not into that.
That he is not allowed to. And the more he sits there and is thinking about how this guy gets to have this special Bonnie time, and I don't have any money at this moment because I left my purse back at I'm saying purse. What is a Duke purse called?
It's a purse. It's a coin purse. It's a purse. Yeah. It's fine.
It's a European carry-all. Yeah. So he's like, but I could figure something out. Like, Bonnie doesn't have to,
do whatever it is he's doing.
Yeah, whatever it is. And it turns out that what Bonnie is doing,
he's getting rimmed
very, very hard by this ostler in a hayloft, which sounds scratchy, but I'll allow it for fantasy reasons.
Enthusiastic arse licking. Honestly, Natalie, this book hit me in my soul in a way that I don't know.
Have you ever read a rimming scene like this?
No.
Between two dudes?
No. This book is like a love letter to rimming and other ass play.
Yes. But it is.
It was so beautiful. And I loved it.
Yes, it was. It was fantastic. More rimming and romance.
More rimming and romance. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So this ostler is, tongue deep in Bonnie. And he's like, what's happening up
Bonnie
here?
Bonnie tastes like wild strawberries, everybody.
Oh, boy, does he ever. I cannot. How, though?
I don't yet. Especially after days of travel with no bath.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
We're suspending our reality.
So I think it's just because of the love goggles.
Sure.
The love goggles really do a lot to a person. Listen, okay, so he's like, you get off of him. I will give you my signet ring in exchange for whatever information. And the ostler's sitting there being like, I would just tell you. This isn't, I didn't even ask for anything. I just like licking his ass.
Yes, yeah, literally I would have just told you if you asked me down there.
Right.
In the stable yard.
But then I was like, no, we can have some fun, sexy times. Great. That sounds wonderful.
The ostler's got to get it where he can, too.
Yeah, come on. So he's like, get out of here. I don't like it. And then he does a big blow up again where he says some absolutely horrendous things to Bonnie, including but not limited to he should stop being deluded and he's never going to have the happy love story that he wants because it's not possible for people like him. And it is devastating. And by the end of it, he says, you know what? Don't help at all anymore, all, ever. Mm-hmm. Yes. And so Bonnie is crushed, obviously, and they get in that curricle and they do drive for hours without speaking.
You don't understand bees and you don't understand me.
Oh my God. Oh, Bonnie.
Oh my gosh.
Bonnie is a king. Mm-hmm. I love him. Hey, HBs. I started an Etsy store. Did you know? Right now, it's full of all the St. Vincent items you need, because St. Vincent is thoughtful and cozy all year round. We've got a book sleeve to keep your books, planners, e-readers, or really anything else safe when you're on the go. The inside is fuzzy, and they feel so incredibly lush in your hands. I went round and round with the manufacturers to make sure I had just the right thickness. Those feature art of St. Vincent and Evie during their carriage adventure that was painted by the amazing Mayara Faraz on one side, and then I created a St. Vincent Would Always wreath on the other side that has a bunch of little Easter egg items in it. There's a St. Vincent Would Always warm brick enamel pin. It's like, if you know, you know. I designed a special edition Marriage of Convenience candle that is specific to Devil in Winter, with the help of HB Jen at Post Pouring Company. It combines dark amber for St. Vincent and rosewood for Evie, and it smells so delicious. It's hard to even wrap my brain around. So if you want to treat yourself or be the St. Vincent you want to see in the world by getting a care package for a friend, check out our Etsy store. The link is in the show notes.
And he's like, I understand that you are in a bad place right now, but you don't have to be a dick about it.
Right. You do not have to speak to me like that.
and just because you say it doesn't make it true.
Right. Oh, you don't understand bees and you don't understand me.
Yes.
Alexis Hall, how dare you?
So they do stay together, and thankfully Bonnie sticks with him because otherwise they are fucking lost because this Duke is useless.
Val
he has no ideas.
He would not be okay.
No.
So they're going and going and going. Big storm happens, and then they see like a cottage in the distance. So they do go into that cottage, and who is there shrieking her face off but Arabella Tarleton?
And this is where it gets crazy.
It gets bonks. I loved it. I fucking loved it. It's bonkers. It's amazing. So he gets there.
It is so many things.
And Arabella is like, oh my God, there is the wretch, the knave.
My captor.
Oh, my captor.
He's been chasing me. Why would he be here if he's not following me? Val's like, it was raining.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And both of the women were like, well, we didn't really believe anything she said out loud until this moment.
But
and he's like,
here.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm a duke. Like, let's fall in line here. And they're like, oh yeah, where's your signet ring? And he's like, oh no. There was this ostler, and there was this very overwhelming rimming that I didn't understand
go into it,
why I felt weird about it, but like I had to stop it immediately. And and they're just like, okay. So then one of them gets a rifle, one of the ladies, because they are two sapphic ladies. They've lived together for years.
And it's, of course, not apparent to Valentine right away.
Valentine is very confused.
Yes.
They keep on kissing on the lips, and he's like, I don't understand.
Like, wherever your husband is, can you go get him? And she's like, I'm afraid he's not here.
He's not. No.
I live here with my companion. And Valentine is like, okay, well, that's nice that they
at first
are
he's
making
like,
the best of a bad situation. Yes.
Poor spinsters.
Yes.
So, but then they keep kissing on the lips, and he's just like, these are very odd spinsters. I don't understand.
How is this working?
So listen, bing, bang, boom. Valentine gets tied to a chair because they don't know what to do with him. They're worried that he's going to make off with Belle at some point. Mm-hmm. So now he's tied to a chair, and they start eating and playing parlor games. And Valentine is he has no idea what to do or how to handle himself. Bonnie is still real mad at him.
He's refusing food.
Out of Bonnie's hand.
Yes. Bonnie tries to feed him, and he is like, I will not eat from your spoon. You cannot feed me. How degrading. And Bonnie's like, fucking starve then. Yeah, fine. I don't know. Bye.
I don't give a shit. So they start playing this dictionary game that Bonnie
I want to play this.
Me too. Next HB meetup, we're doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they look at a book. Someone has a dictionary. Don't know how we would play this in 2022. Someone has a dictionary, and they pick a word at random, and everybody has to write down their own definition of it and put in a little basket. And then they have to pick if somebody like guesses it correctly, right? Like they have to guess the correct or the one that got the closest, or they could just pick the one that's the most ridiculous.
Right.
There's so many things to do.
I think this game does exist and it's an actual game now, but
Probably.
I can't remember what it's called. So they're playing it and Val is sitting over there and he's like, well, I know exactly what this word means. And I'm not going to say it, though, because I'm a duke and I'm tied to a chair.
Yes, exactly.
And one of the ladies is a novelist, a romance novelist. And he's like, oh, my God, I've read every single one of her books. No, I'm not going to say anything because I am a duke.
He secretly reads
these
novels that Belle and Bonnie love.
Mm-hmm.
He's been reading them. He has them hidden under his mattress.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So then he gets big mad and he's just like, cannot anymore.
Yes.
And he does a Hulk smash all over their parlor.
Yeah, he accidentally hits Peggy across the ribs with part of the chair because he breaks the chair apart. He's been bound with curtain cord. Yeah. He breaks the chair apart, swings his arm, and hits Peggy across the ribs. And everybody is like, this fucking guy needs
You're
to
done.
Go to the cellar.
Yeah. You're fucking done. We're done with you. So they put him in the cellar and he's like, oh, no.
But spiders!
Yeah, spiders. Am Duke in cellar, big spider.
There's this whole part where he's like worried about spiders getting inside of him. And I just cackled where he's like, what if spiders get in me? It is just, I just love it so much.
And he keeps on being like, I have no evidence that spiders are here, but it does not matter.
You know they're watching.
They're just waiting. So the morning comes and he can hear them getting like a curricle ready. And Bonnie is out there and he's like, wait. Like he goes to the window and he's like, wait, no, you can't leave. And Bonnie's like,
do you know what he says?
What? Say it.
He says, I can't lose you. There can't be a world that has you in it that is not mine. And he has no idea he's in love with him.
No idea. Not yet. And so Bonnie is on the cusp of staying. And then he's like, wait, no, like you were engaged to my sister and this is gross and I don't understand. And like, you're actually mean a lot of the time and you have I don't like it. So he gets in the curricle and he leaves and Val is devastated. Yeah. Val's whole world is upside down. He doesn't know what he's going to do with the rest of his life, basically.
Yes.
And so he's sitting like against the wall, just like desolation cascading over him. And then there's like a knock on the window.
Yeah. He comes back.
And Bonnie has come back. And then he's like, you came back? Why did you come back? And Bonnie's like, well, you asked me to.
Yeah. It is just so great. And they're like trying to form a way that he can get out. And they're like, you have to crawl out this window, which is like one of those high cellar windows.
Yeah.
It's like the only way. And Valentine's like, you could just go explain it to the two ladies that live here. And Bonnie says, please don't go and make me tell two lovely sapphic ladies about my worrying taste in gentlemen. And then Valentine's like, two what kind of ladies?
Yeah. He's like, just come out the window, Jesus.
I came back for you. You can climb through a window for me.
Yeah. And the day before, I'm sorry, there was just one thing that would happen the day before in the parlor that made me so happy because they basically decide out loud that Bonnie's just going to go to America with Belle and Peggy. And Val's like, what? No, you may not. I forbid it, I think he says.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, there's not really anything here for me. And Val's like, well, I forbid it. And he's like, well, is there a reason I should stay? Flower? Yeah. Is there a reason? And he he has these hopeful eyes and Val can see that he wants something, but he has no earthly idea what he could possibly say that would make Bonnie stay. Oh my God. So now he gets it. He's with it now. He does climb out that window. He has to break the whole side of the house to do it, basically.
Yeah. The two ladies, Miss Evans and Miss Fairfax, or I think are their names, and they come and they've got their rifle. Yeah. And they're like at the door watching him like struggle because he's so big, y'all.
He's Winnie the Poohing.
He's just so big.
Out that window.
He has pants on.
He does. This time.
Yeah. And so they're like, should we shoot him? Oh, wait, he is a duke. So like, maybe we shouldn't shoot him. But they're like, but he's like trapped. So like, I don't know what's better or worse. And he basically Bonnie just like yanks him through and they run off to the curricle, which is waiting like down the road.
Right. And so then they go to a tree and Bonnie's like, you haven't eaten in forever. Hold this piece of bread. And Val is like a little bit, he's like almost he's in shock almost.
Yeah.
He's just like, I don't know what just happened, but I really like it and I don't know what to do now. And and so Bonnie's like, hold it right there. I'm going to go get something. I'll be right back. And so Bonnie goes and he tames some bees. Yes. He does collect a whole...
He gets completely covered in bees. He like goes to a knot in a tree, like reaches his hand inside. The bees have accepted that him as one of their own. And said, please take this honey, you it's beautiful creature. Yeah. we don't even let bears do this shit, okay?
No. So Val is terrified for him, but he's also just like, what a mythical being that I'm in love with. Incredible. So then they do eat some honey with some breads.
Comes back and he goes, sweets for the sweet.
Oh my God. And then Val smooches him. Like basically out of the blue. He just like leans down and smooches him.
Well, right before it, like Valentine, or was it Bonnie that told Valentine? He just goes like, to me, you are a miracle. And it's just,
That's right.
Like.
Val says that to Bonnie.
Yes, it was too much in exactly the same way that Bonnie was too much, and he could not get enough of it. So it's Valentine saying this to Bonnie. He says, to me, you are a miracle. And he leans down and kisses him.
And then he's like, how was that?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
As far as like kissing is going for you.
And Bonnie's like,
normal?
What? And he's like, well, I mean, he's like, I usually don't do like a post-kiss performance breakdown, usually.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I mean, if that was one's first kiss, for example, you know, one might want to know. And he's like, I'm your first kiss?
Because, bitches, this Duke is a virgin!
This Duke is a virgin. Oh, I love him. Man. Not for long, though.
Bonnie's first instinct, though, is like, but what about my sister? And, like, Valentine is like, well, she's kind of, like, on her way to America, right? And Bonnie and him kind of go like, oh, well, if we're together, she could kind of do whatever she wanted. So this kind of fixes the whole situation.
Yeah.
Like, that's all we need to do is just let her know. Like, oh, well, it's fine because...
He's not chasing you. He caught me.
He doesn't want to put his penis in you.
Yeah.
He wants to put his penis in me.
It's all in here.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, and vice versa, frankly. Mm-hmm. So he's like, now we have to go swimming. We have to go bathe. Yeah. And Valentine's like, bathing requires a copper tub.
Definitely a valet.
But they do a naked swim.
There's a waterfall.
Oh, and he's looking at Bonnie's body and he's just like, oh my gosh, he's so beautiful. Everything about him is so uninhibited and pure and just gorgeous. And so they get into the pond and Bonnie has basically been like, we can't kiss anymore until we tell my sister. Like, you have to break up with my sister. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, all right, cool. And then Bonnie's like, I can't do it. He's a Melody. He's like, I'm going to set a rule and then I'm going to be like, jokes, I hate rule.
Can I tell you really quick? I was just going through my notes and I wanted, can I tell you about why Bonnie likes bees?
Mm-hmm. Of course you can.
Basically, that this one creature does so much good in the world and they give us more flowers and like it's one of my very favorite things. And then like he starts talking and Valentine is like zoned out because Bonnie is just so beautiful to look at. And then they come back and he's like, yeah, and then they communicate by dancing. Which is perfect, of course.
I love them.
and they're all fuzzy and cute.
Mm-hmm. And so they're making out on the bank. And he's like, can we do some more kissing? Mm-hmm. And Bonnie's like, we can do kissing and frankly, whatever else you want to do. Like, I'm game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Bonnie's like, ooh. Val is like, I don't really know. Like, this is going pretty fast. And
so he's virgin. Like, the only thing he knows about that he knows Bonnie likes is getting that asshole licked. And so...
I loved it. And so he goes... At first, he's like, I don't want to do anything. And then they talk about... Bonnie's like, I feel like I'm in a bizarro world. I don't understand why you're attracted to me.
Yeah.
And Val's like, what are you talking about? Like, if anything, that should be the other way around.
Yeah.
And Bonnie's like, are you kidding? Like, you have seen a mirror, right? Like, you are the male definition of beauty. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I mean... I guess, but I don't really think that matters all that much.
Yeah.
And then we find out that basically Val's a demisexual.
Yeah.
He has to have feelings for a person in order to have any kind of attraction.
He has never been attracted to another human being in his life.
Never. And it's never even crossed his mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think partially because he refuses to let himself get close to anyone.
Yeah.
So he's just like, and he's like, yeah, but you're like beautiful. And I'm like, you know, tiny and squishy and stuff.
Yes.
And he's like, well, I mean, it's not really about your body, but I could also tell you all the things I fucking love about your body.
About your body.
And then we find out that this virginal Duke is a dirty talker, but he's a Shakespeare dirty talker. He's talking about, and so he looks at Bonnie, he's like, actually, Bonnie, now that I've been perusing your body for a minute, there is one thing I want to do. And Bonnie's like, totally, here I am. Like, and I'm pretty sure Bonnie's expecting, like, will you suck on my penis? You know?
Yes, exactly.
But instead, he's like the ostler.
That thing back there in the hayloft. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would like to do that. And Bonnie's like, oh yeah, I can do that. And he's like, no, I would like to do that to you. Because he's just seeing in his mind, like, how like, beautiful in abandon Bonnie was when he was experiencing that.
He was fully present and in the moment and fully in it with the ostler. I kind of wish he had a name, but he is just the ostler.
The ostler. Mm-hmm. So now we get another rimming scene, and Val loves it.
He's going to town.
Yeah, and he's talking about Bonnie's, like, pink flower, ? What is it? His
he's
welcoming
like
flower?
Speaking directly into it.
Oh, yeah.
He is, as Bonnie says, waxing poetic about his asshole.
Yeah, he does. He's like, are you seriously waxing poetic about my asshole?
Exactly.
I don't understand. But he does like it.
Yes. And he always says Valentine's Day, Valentine.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like he has to drag it out.
Oh, I love it. So then he's like, Val, I have to touch myself. And he's like, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, I have to stroke my penis. And Valentine's like, oh, I could do that. And he's like, no. You focus all your energy on the thing you're doing back there.
Keep doing what you're doing.
I will handle the brute work. Okay.
Yes.
Like,
exactly.
And Val is like so excited to see him come. And he's just like, this is incredible. I love making Bonnie feel good.
And it is enough for him.
Yeah. He doesn't want anything reciprocated right now.
He's like, if we do anything else, it will be too much for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I get it. Mm-hmm. So, boy, does Sir Horley come out of the bushes.
He's there again. He's like, oh, you guys like this pond too? Oh. Isn't the waterfall great? Look at my friend, the blacksmith over here. We love this waterfall.
Weave's pond was very secluded.
And both the blacksmith and Sir Horley are like talking to Bonnie like he is a prized possession. And Valentine is like, you need to get the fuck away.
Get away from my Bonnie is mine.
Yeah. And Bonnie's like, after they've like packed up and left, Bonnie goes, I hope you're proud of the way I barely noticed that gloriously meaty blacksmith.
I loved it. Okay, so now, listen. All right. They catch up to Belle, and Belle has crashed.
Yes, they have a broken wheel axle of some kind. And they have found help.
Yeah. There is a gentleman.
2 gentlemen. One is like a sir, and one of them is a Mr. Mr. Howard.
But I really think that, like, this guy envisions himself as, like, that over-the-top cartoon version of the Scarlet Pimpernel. You know what I mean?
That is not a reference that I understand.
Oh, okay. Well, the Scarlet Pimpernel was like this over-the-top, just like crazy. I mean, this guy's nuts. And so he's like, I've heard you, scoundrel, you knave, you blackguard.
Yeah, so Belle has told this tale that she's being pursued through the countryside by this crazed duke who is trying to capture her and hold her against his will and force her into marriage.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, once they arrive, she's like, it's him! And this guy immediately has believed her story, which, again, you should believe women. But
unless their name is Arabella Turlington.
Yes. So then, like, thankfully, this guy has, like, a friend who's like, maybe some moderation here.
Cool it.
And Peggy is like, but maybe moderation. And Bella's over there like, you should shoot him. And the guy's like, I should shoot him.
Yeah, so he will not back down from like,
No.
and it's such a funny scene because he
Yes.
says this list of like 9 horrendous Regency insults.
And they are so mild.
Oh yeah,
in the 2022
in the
world.
now times. Wow. So he like says them out loud, and then he, at one point, he's like, "Yeah, I, you know what? Fine, I do think I'd apologize. I will apologize. I am so sorry that you are a scoundrel and a knave and a blackguard and a blah blah blah.
Absolutely, I do regret saying that you are all of these terrible things.
That you are."
Yes,
that must be so hard for you. And then, okay, so Val is like, I have to call you out.
The only thing I have been taught is that if a duke is insulted, I have to defend my name. He's dishonoring my name. Currently, the only thing he has.
Right. That's it.
He doesn't have money. He doesn't have anything else.
That's right. He doesn't even have a signet ring. So
yes.
He's just like, you give me no choice, sir. I gave you many outs. I do not want to duel with you, but I must now. And so Bonnie like takes him off to the side and he's like, don't you dare. I will never forgive you. I'm going to be so mad at you. And he's just like, Bonnie, I have to. Like, this isn't a choice.
Valentine's like, dueling has been how men have settled their differences for centuries. And Bonnie is like, no, it isn't. It's what men fall back on because they're too scared to talk about their feelings or admit when they're in the wrong.
Bonnie is the most amazing dancing bee.
He just knows it.
He just is the best. Mm-hmm. So they do have to end up dueling. He tries to get Bonnie to be a second, and he's like, fuck that and fuck you. I want no part of this. Peggy does step up to be his second. And then he's like, hey, Peggy, just hypothetically speaking, if I had never held a gun before. And she's like, oh, God. Oh, here we go. It's like trying to give him some instructions. Luckily, the guns are not well kept.
Yes.
And so neither of them fire, except one of them fires in the air. Like, Broseph could have shot his whole face off. And like, the hunter safety person in me, like the gun safety lady that just like lives in my body.
Yes.
I was horrified.
Yeah. They have no idea, first of all. Well, and none of them really know anything about guns. The guy who owns the guns doesn't know about guns. And he's like the one, Mr. Howard or whatever it is, was like, they were like, well, you should inspect them. And he was like, after inspecting them, I can confirm that they are both guns. That's about all I got, though. They don't know. They don't know anything else.
It's so funny. So luckily, nobody is maimed or killed.
No.
And then Arabella takes off with this guy's curricle. She's just like, gosh darn. Oh, also there's this moment where Bonnie is looking at Belle before the duel starts. And he's like, Belle, there is a way that we can stop this duel from happening. Yes. There is another narrative that can happen. And she looks at him and she's got this like crazy in her eyes. Yes. And she's like, but Bonnie, a duel, a real life duel.
Yes. She's like so built up into this fantastical world that she wants to live in that she is like crazed.
Yeah. So she crashes. They catch her. Oh no. They come up alongside her. And Peggy jumps into her curricle.
She's going to do a Star Wars or whatever it is.
I was going to say she's going to do a Footloose. But yes.
Sure.
Both of those things are true.
Do they do that in Star Wars?
I have no idea. Probs? I feel like, you know what? I feel like on that Ewok planet, they definitely like jumped from motorcycle to motorcycle.
Yeah.
So we're good with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Lots of things happen on that Ewok
It is now canon. It is now canon.
It's heaving bosoms canon.
Jumped from curricle to curricle on Star Wars.
Exactly. Precisely. So Val puts her into his curricle and like they don't speak. And she's just like, I have to pee everywhere and I'm going to go, I have to pee in that inn. And he's like, oh God, Valentine. Lady things. Ooh.
And I get like he couldn't really say no. But you trust her to just go by herself into the thing.
Yeah.
And so then he's like, okay, well, I'll just go and I'll sit at the bar and I'll ask for a claret.
Yeah.
And of course, they do not have claret because it is Surrey. And guess who's there?
Sir Horley Comewithers does buy him a drink. And he's like, yeah, I'm just waiting for my fiance. And once again, Sir Horley's like, oh, yeah, that fiance.
Fiance?
Where is she?
Women, am I right?
And then they realize that she's gone out the back, at which point Sir Horley Comewithers does shout, wait, she's real?
She's real?
And now it's a foot race, okay?
Yes.
It's a chase on foot. Val ends up falling into a stream with frog spawn.
He doesn't. He gets shot.
No, wait, not yet. So sorry.
Wait, what?
He gets into his curricle, and he's going after her on the curricle, but then she has cut a bunch of the cords on the curricle.
The braces, yeah.
That's the one.
Yes.
And so he does a big crash into a creek, into a frog spawn.
Correct.
And he's just like,
so then he's like, gotta do it on foot. That's right. Sorry.
And he is like, we said Hulk smash before. He's like Thanos now. Okay.
He has seen red.
He has taken it to another level.
There is no more time or space for cognitive thinking.
No. And so he runs after her,
making sounds.
Oh, yeah. You know? He's like, yeah, there's this weird animal sound that's happening. Yes. Oh, God, it's coming from me. Okay, so he chases her into a forest, and he's like, that's the first tactical error she made. Ha!
Yes, because her skirt's getting caught up, and she keeps tripping and stuff like that, and she just cannot run as fast as him in his man outfit.
Right. So she ends up backed against a tree, and Bonnie and Peggy come, and then she does start brandishing a weapon.
She's had a weapon this whole time. Yeah. Who has trusted this nightmare
Thank you.
with a gun?
I know. And so Peggy's like, wait, dude, did you steal my pistol? Did you seriously steal my pistol?
Yes.
And so he lunges for her because, again, saw red, not thinking, and she does shoot him right in the shoulder. There is a shooting.
She has done shot him. Yes.
She has done shot him real good. So now we get a bunch of sickbed scenes, and we know...
Well, here's where my thoughts immediately
Please tell me everything.
This gentleman has fallen into a Regency swamp.
Oh, yeah.
And then gets a arm wound through that dirty-ass cloth.
Oh, yeah.
Into his flesh.
Oh, yeah.
With all of that snails, frog spawn,
algae,
all
the
that
muds.
Stuff.
There's duck poop all over that thing.
Into his body.
Oh, yeah.
There's no antibiotics.
None.
What are we doing with this? Anyway, he does get the fever.
Yeah, they're going to have to traverse a fever, okay?
Yes.
They're going to Fever Town.
And as he's in this fever, he's having all these dreams about glass. Everything is like glass.
Everything is so remote. He can't reach anything. He can see people behind the glass, and he keeps on trying to touch the glass to like get to them, but then they'll just disappear. Like it's such a great, what a great dream to write, Alexis Hall. What a great choice of dream.
But I think there was so much glass because as he wakes up, he's in a room with mirrors and dirty ass murals. Dirty ass is in like very X-rated.
Satyrs are doing stuff to satyrs.
And just mirrors all over so you can see yourself.
And every single
angle.
Mirror is pointed at the bed.
Correct.
Okay, guess where he's at, everybody? He has made it to Sir Horley Cumwither's hunting lodge.
That dude is not hunting.
He is not hunting game, all right?
He's only hunting man flesh.
And throughout this whole thing, he's been like, wow, Val, I didn't know we had so much in common. You must come to my hunting lodge.
Trying to, yes.
And Val's like, I don't have anything in common with you. I don't like hunting.
This guy sucks.
I want nothing to do with all of this.
Yes.
And he's so obtuse, our Valentine. Yes. So he wakes up and Bonnie's there and he's been at his bedside the whole time. And the first thing he says is like, you look so tired.
Yeah.
You need to sleep. And Bonnie's like, yeah, I mean, now that you're over the fever, it seems like, yeah, I might be able to sleep now.
Yes. Oh. Yes. Poor thing. But he wakes him up saying, you're safe. I promise you're safe.
God, you're safe.
And it's just, it's so good. And so then they have, gilt mirrors and pink marble columns intersperse the murals with the mirrors set in such an ill-designed way that they only reflected the bed. So that's like what the room looks like.
And then the curtains on the bed are like blush pink
dusky
velvet. Dusky rose.
Yeah.
Which we find out later is hilarious.
Yes, absolutely. So he realizes he's been out for days. He got shot, which he obviously remembers. And then they talk about like where Arabella is.
Bella's with his mom.
She has gone to his mom, and Valentine's like, what?
Why did we do that to my mom?
Yes,
I love my mom.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
Peggy and Arabella went to Bath, where his mom has started to live since his dad died.
Mhm.
And so then he has to stay here for like weeks
Yeah.
to recuperate.
Oh, he's doing a convalesce. So he gets his, oh my God. At one point, Bonnie comes in and he's like, I have a visitor and I think you're going to be really excited to see him. And he's like, Bonnie, no, I only want to see you ever again. Like, no more humans. I don't want them. But then he opens the door and his valet comes in and...
His name is Periwinkle, isn't it?
Yes, his name is Periwinkle, and Val loses his ever-loving mind. Like, they basically, high school girl, like, jump up and down and scream. And when I say high school girl, I do mean me right now when I see someone I haven't seen in a while.
Yes.
Okay?
I think we needed, and I don't know if it's happened, I think it's happened already. Oh, no, it's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So Periwinkle comes in, and he brings all of his stuff. It's like 5 cases worth.
Oh, God.
Of stuff because Dukes need all the shit. And Periwinkle is like, they kind of have a small conversation about like who Bonnie is to Valentine at that point, right? That happens now, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And Periwinkle's like, oh, dude, it's fine. I've got an arrangement with the manservant for this guy over here.
Yeah,
and
because
so
Bonnie gets a little jealous and he's like, is there something I should be worried about here?
Yes.
And then Periwinkle looks at him and he's like, a man's relationship with his valet is sacred.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
I wouldn't dare. So then Bonnie starts to unpack stuff and he goes to like the dresser and he like pulls open the first drawer and he immediately shuts it and he was like, this drawer is full of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe
comfort tools.
They call it? What did they call it? Called it? Is that what it called? I don't.
It was something like that.
Yes, it was like.
Was so
I'll have to look. I'll have to find it. But it was so good. And then they have like a couple of really great days of just like being together.
And Bonnie finds all of his illicit novels.
Yes.
And Bonnie hasn't been able to read any of them because he's always been like, given like Town and Country, Farm and Pigs.
Yes.
And so he's like, oh my God, you have been just maligning me for my taste in literature, and this is what you're reading in the bath, sir? Like, how dare you?
Exactly.
And he's like, not big deal. Duke's things doesn't matter.
Yes.
And a bunch of the books are one of the Sapphic authors.
What is her name?
Fairfax.
Exactly.
She wrote them.
Yes. And they come to visit because they're like, here's the thing. We're a little bit worried that we imprisoned this Duke and now we're going to be in trouble. So we came to apologize. And Valentine's like, I'm pretty sure that I have to apologize.
Yeah.
Like, I was at my absolute worst.
Mm-hmm. So Sir Horley Comewithers does come trotting up with these 2 women, and he's just like, God bless Britain. What's happening? Why are you here again? Why do I have to deal with this man all the time? But I am also staying here at his house, and like I don't really understand.
Nice. Yes.
And so he finds out in this moment that Sir Horley Comewithers has been gallivanting all over England to make sure that, like, innkeepers are bribed.
His debts are paid. Yep.
Debts are paid. He gives him back his signet ring. He's the one who took Arabella and Peggy to Bath.
Yes.
He's paid for the Fairfax Evans's window and all of their furniture and all of that.
Yes.
And so Val is sitting there and he's like, I might be a paranoid person, but what's in it for you?
Yeah.
And Sir Horley's like, I mean, if we had to invent an ulterior motive, like maybe it could be this. And he's like, that's ridiculous. That wouldn't work at all. And he's like, I think you might have to confront the fact that I might just be a good person.
Your friend. Yeah. And want to be your friend.
Yeah. And at that point, Val's like, absolutely not. I will not hear it. But then by the end of the conversation, he's like, I just keep really liking Comewithers, and I don't know what to do.
I can't handle it, and he's just nice, and I don't know how to handle that he's so nice.
My whole world is being turned upside down. And in this scene, he does tell the whole story about being tied to a chair and going Hulk smash and the window and all of these sorts of things.
Self-deprecatingly, and makes himself the center of the joke. And like that journey of this person from the beginning of this book to now he would never have put himself in that. He wouldn't have been able to think about it. The internal cringing of him experiencing that would be impossible. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And he's doing all of this with Bonnie sitting on his lap. It's so cute. And then he and one of the, like, Miss Evans maybe start doing, like, impressions of him until Bonnie's, like, flopping on the ground. And I loved it because in his inner monologue, Val's like, yeah, so now Bonnie's flopping on the ground, which is not flattering to me at all, but it is very flattering to him.
How does he do it?
And all of his hotness. He's so hot. I love him so much. So then they're like, Bonnie's like, oh, you should stay for dinner. And everybody's like, well, we got to look at the Duke. And Sir Horley very kindly gives him an out. He's like, well, he might be really tired. Like, he might not be able to. And then in a very adorably surly voice, Val says, you may stay on one condition. And they're like, what is it?
Yeah.
And he's like, that we all play that dictionary game together.
Because he really enjoyed it. He loved it. He didn't get to play.
Oh my God. It's so cute.
It is a personal care drawer. I just want you to know.
Personal care drawer. Well, now we get to rate it, Nat, because they're in the bedroom.
Yes. This is one of the way that they talk about what they want from each other in the scene. I want it more. I want more of this. I don't care if it's sapphic, if it's if it's hetero. I want everyone to sit down and be like, well, what do you want?
Yeah.
And they had Valentine was like, well, Bonnie's been worried about asking him and wanting to initiate anything because he's worried that he's hurt. And Valentine's like, I want this.
Yeah. Valentine's like, I've been wanting to jump your bones forever. So there was earlier, Bonnie was trying to feed him soup. And for a really long time, Val refused. And the reason was because he didn't think he would want to kiss him anymore if he fed him soup. Oh my God. So cute.
Yes.
And then Bonnie said, I wanted to kiss you when you were covered in frog spawn. Like, it's fine.
Yes.
But now we're in the sex scene.
Yes, we are. And basically Valentine's like, well, what do you want to do tonight? And he's basically like, what I would like to do tonight is I would like us to choose one of the objects from the, the personal care drawer. And I would like you to put it inside me. Right. And Valentine is like, yes, I have not, like, he was like blanked out.
And he was like, yes, I would very much like that. Yeah.
And so he's like, and wait, there's more. And Valentine's like, what
could
more
possibly
could there
be more incredible? And he's like, show me your brain. I have to, what is it? Tell me.
And he's like, after that, I would like to arrange you very comfortably and securely upon some pillows, as you suggested. And then I'd like to be inside of you. And I'd like you to watch us in all of these mirrors. And then Valentine's like, yes, let's do that.
Yeah, let's
just it totally interrupts, talks over it. It's just,
he's just amazing. Like, can't wait, want it, can't wait.
And they have this whole great.
Oh my God! Because earlier, Bonnie asked him what he wanted, and he was like, well, I've been thinking about it for a couple of days, and I think that we could deal with my shoulder by me laying down on the pillows, and then you could maybe sit and put that beautiful rosette on my face. And then he's like, okay, but also personal care drawer, it in me and you. And now we're here.
I think Bonnie was like, there's more than this.
We can do more.
My friend. Yeah. Valentine's been like, let's think of all the ways we could do this one act. And Bonnie's like, no, this is just one.
Yeah.
Oh, how does he say it?
He says it's a buffet.
Yes.
He says it's not a sit-down dinner where you have to commit to one entree. It's a buffet.
Yes. Exactly. You try all the things, not just the things immediately in front of you. Yes, exactly.
So he goes and he starts showing different things. One is a jade dildo, one is a something else, and then finally he lands on this amethyst butt plug. And he's like, I don't know, will it be okay with my coloring? Like, will it be flattering when you watch us fuck?
I love it, but do you think it will go with my ass?
Love it. And he's like, yes, anything will go with your ass. Literally anything.
Yes, exactly.
It does taste like strawberries. Did I tell you that?
We haven't confirmed. We don't have that from Valentine's POV. That was the Ostler's opinion.
That's true.
Yeah, it's just so great. And we get this really amazing, just the sex is great and they're both just so into it.
Yeah. And it's a combination of like hot, but appropriately slow. Like, Bonnie instructs him on how to like finger him for the first time so that he can get him ready.
Yes.
And Val's like like totally enamored of it. He's just like, this is a whole new world,
At
basically.
some points, he's like almost overtaken by it, but then don't worry, everything goes great.
Everything goes great.
So then they wake up and they realize that, Valentine has not been able to sleep because it's been this perfect moment. And then he's like, okay, so we need to make sure that this can happen. So we need to go and we need to find Arabella. We need to talk to her and make sure she's going to be good with it. And like, this is like, he's like, I need to do this now so that we can start our future today.
Because in Val's brain, what has been happening since he kissed Bonnie is that he's still going to marry his sister. And then he and Bonnie are going to be together, and Arabella can do whatever the fuck they want, but their estate will be saved and she will be secure and all the things.
Because in Valentine's mind, he needs to get married to a woman and have an heir to carry on his legacy. Right. Because and that makes sense because that's what male, the Tan, like the Regency has been told they have to do.
Completely. Yeah, duty over self for, generations.
Exactly.
So he wakes up Bonnie and he's like, yeah, we got to go do this thing. And Bonnie's like, I'm sorry, what? Wait, you're going to marry my sister? What are you talking about? But us, like, what are we going to do? Yes. And Val's like, well, we can still do this.
And Bonnie had originally it said, like back earlier in the book, was like, I don't share.
Right.
I get very jealous. I'm never going to be able to share somebody with somebody else. And he thought he was communicating the things that he needed to communicate. Right. And Valentine was like, but we cannot legally be together because is illegal. Right. So this is the only way it can work.
And
he cannot see another solution.
He's saying like, this is the way you don't have to share me.
Yeah.
If I have a beard, wife, that is the way that we can be together and like it's not a problem. And Bonnie's like, I will not be my sister's mistress. Like it's not happening. That's weird. Yes. I don't love it. I'm not doing it. So like either you're going to marry my sister or you want to be with me, but it's not. I want to be someone's whole world and I want them to be my whole world. That is all I've ever wanted. I told you that from the beginning. I've been very clear about it and that's it. And so it gets to the point where Val's just like stunned into silence.
He says, don't force this choice on me. I beg you. I cannot be without you. I can't. And Bonnie was like, then be with me.
Yeah.
And Valentine, he's like, I'm in love with you, Valentine, but don't do this to me.
Yeah.
And Valentine is like, it's what has to be done.
Right. He's like, I don't have a choice.
And so Bonnie leaves. He packs up all of his stuff. And he leaves, and then Valentine, I think he says he's a ghost.
He's a ghost.
He goes to Bath, to his mom's house to visit Arabella, and he said he arrives there a ghost. And his mom is there with the dude. With
this real cute younger dude who's like playing piano for her and stuff. Yes. And he's like, oh, why is that guy always here? Leave, guy.
He's
God.
everywhere.
Jeez. He's always here when I see my mom. God.
Yes.
What do they even do together? I don't even know. So she's like, I really wish you were nicer to Percy or whatever the fuck his name is. And he's like, why should I be nice to him? He's nobody. He's just always here. I don't get it.
Yes.
So then he falls into her lap and starts sobbing. And his mom's like, whoa, this is new.
This is the most emotion I've seen from you your whole life.
Yeah. And Valentine's like, that can't be true. I love you, and I'm the closest person to you.
Yeah.
And she's like, but you don't share your feelings with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he tells her
the whole story, and then it ends up where he's like, and I still have to marry this woman.
Well, wait, but for so long, for so long, she's like, oh, so you fell in love. Who is she? Tell me all about her.
Yes.
And finally, like, after a couple of things, he's like, well, the answer is that she's a man.
Yeah.
And,
this is, yes.
And he almost hulks out a little bit. And she's like, oh. And, like, she blinks for a minute. And she's like, okay, well, tell me about him.
He's mentally preparing for her to
freak out.
Something. Freak out and be upset and be emotional. And
talk
she's
about
like,
his duties.
Okay, tell me about him then.
Yeah.
And so then, and it's this moment of just beautiful acceptance.
Yes.
And he's perfectly accepted. But then he still says, like, but I still have to marry this person because my dad told me I had to.
Right.
And his mom is like, no.
You super don't.
She goes, give that marvelous termagant of a girl some money and allow yourself to be happy.
Yeah.
She's like, settle a dowry on her.
Buy her estate or whatever.
Buy the estate so they don't have any debts. Give it back to them. And do whatever the fuck you want. And he's like, but don't I have to marry a woman?
Don't I have to have an heir?
Like, your uncle has a son who's perfectly fine and has a baby with his wife because he likes ladies.
Yeah.
And like, that's perfect.
He can inherit.
That.
No worries.
He's like totally fine. And he's like, but Mom, it's illegal to be with men. And she's like, you're a fucking dude.
You're a dude. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And then he says,
cares.
Then he says, but won't I break your heart? And she's like, what? And he's like, don't you want grandchildren? And she's like, sweetheart, don't take this the wrong way, but like not especially.
Yes.
Like
I would love them if they were there, but
if I don't have any, it's not gonna do anything to me. I'm great. Yes. And he's like, but you've been so lonely since father died. And she's like, what are you talking about?
What is this reality that you are living in?
I'm with Percy, or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yes. And then before him, there was that other guy. Yeah. And before him, there was that other guy. And Valentine's like,
oh my God.
Heads exploding.
Completely. It's so cute. Yeah. And so she's like, sweetheart, the only thing I ever want you to be is happy. So why don't you not worry about my happiness? Mm-hmm. I've got that on lock. You go worry about your happiness. Go get your man. And so, boy, does he ride up to Surrey.
Well, he has the conversation with Belle first.
Oh, that's
right. They have this very,
such a fucking bitch about
she sucks.
She's such an entitled snob about it.
She never apologizes, really.
Never.
For shooting him or, like, carrying on in the ways that she has. Like, it's just, like, and she won't even just be gentle with him on this day when he's like, I'm sorry about how things happened. She's like, yeah, I guess I fucked up a little bit too. But like, she never really says anything.
Honestly, I can't believe that Bonnie was so gracious and patient with her because like, if you shoot my boyfriend, we're gonna have capital P problems.
At one point he says, for God's sake, must we play these games? I'm sincerely and humbly repentant. And she goes, and what does that have to do with me?
Yeah, such a slur.
And then he talks about wanting to settle a dowry on her. And she's like, why? To buy me off? And he's like, no. So you can do whatever you want.
To make you safe.
You can have the life. Yes, you can have the life, you know. And they talk a little bit about how, you know, they knew each other as children and how she kind of knew that they were going to be together in the future. And so kind of like fell in love with him a little bit when they were children.
Well, they were definitely friends. He was like he's like 5 or 6 years older than them. Yeah. And so he got to know them. And she shut down after their parents died in like a carriage accident or something. And he was one of the only people that she would speak to because he very, very gently and slowly gained her trust. Yeah. And then and he was really sweet to her. And at one point, like, she made him a flower crown. And his dad was like, you will either take off that flower crown and come to dinner, or you don't come to dinner. And he's like, all right, I won't eat because
I'm not eating.
This is important to this sweet, broken child. And so then he leaves. And she's like, you abandoned us. You left. And I can't trust you ever again, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And so she's like, I'm saying that he says that he's trying to set her free, and she's like, will you let me? And then he kind of, you know, he lets her know that he's in love with Bonnie and that Bonnie's been half in love with some fantasy of you for years. And she goes, I'm a little surprised that you managed to live up to it.
Oh, that was really sweet.
So she kind of gives him her blessing. You know what I mean?
She does say, if you hurt Bonnie, I will shoot you again. Which, fair, Belle.
Yes,
it's the only sane thing you've said today. So he goes riding up to that estate. And
the uncle's house,
Bonnie throws himself out of a window and runs to a treehouse to get away from him.
Yes, because he just doesn't know what to do with all of his emotions. And haven't we all been there?
Yes.
You know?
I have to do a forest run, okay? It's an emotional forest run.
Yeah, and then but then Valentine's stuck in with the uncle, and he's like, that uncle was like, those twins, am I right? Can't believe you had to go off, you know, surrounding them. Good thing you were there because they, you know, otherwise would have been lost without you. And Valentine's like, quite certainly it's the other way
Yeah,
around.
and Valentine's like, I'm so sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have to go talk to Bonnie. And he's like, oh.
He's like, okay, fine.
Cool.
And so then he finds him in Arabella's hideout from childhood, which is like the base of a tree. And so he has to do a big grovel, but he has to do it to the tree because Bonnie's refusing to come out of this tree.
So he does his big grovel to the tree, and then he starts doing a big sweet propose to the tree.
Yes. And Bonnie's like, you can't do that while I'm inside of a tree. And he's like, I've been trying to tell you to get out of this tree. Why are you still in the tree? And Bonnie just comes like rolling out of this tree at him.
He's like, wait, if you're actually doing this, stop. Don't talk anymore.
Yes,
and he comes barreling out of the tree. And then he does the exact proposal that Bonnie sort of coached him on in the beginning. And they're going to be married forever. And it's going to be the best.
As much as like, it was so good. And it was such a good proposal. But I was like, it took us so long to get here that I want more of this sweet stuff at the end. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was like they found each other. They did the proposal. And then the book was over. And I was like, I was in a pond. I was in a beehive. I was in so many inns, so much Sir Horley, and then we finally get there, and then we're done. And I was like, "Where's my epilogue?" So I could have needed like maybe 10 more pages of sweet stuff at the end.
Maybe 10 more pages back at Sir Horley Comewither's hunting.
Maybe
lodge.
that's where they honeymoon. You know what I mean? Like it was, you know, it would not have hated it. It would have been the perfect way to end. So maybe in the real version, we'll get it. I'm excited to buy it. I have it pre-ordered, which is so funny because we got this art copy and I'm like, but now I have to see how the real one ended up because maybe there's like stuff that's new. Maybe there's stuff he changed things around. Now I have to see it.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Listener, I cannot stress this enough to you. This recap did not do this book justice.
We
cannot
way we could have done the banter.
The genius. No, I had to stop highlighting because I was just highlighting the whole book.
Everything.
You have to read it. Oh, God.
I talked to Mel last week and I was like, Mel, I need you to tell me if this is a good book or if I just love Alexis Hall's voice so much that it's fine, but it's both. It's the voice is great, the banter is great, the sex is great,
off the charts,
every part of it. So many good side characters, which are always, I love a book that has tons of side characters. It was so good.
Oh, so yummy. Yeah.
So it's out. I think by the time this episode comes
it's definitely out. Yeah. All right, Natalie, what's your lady love?
Okay. I had so many. I was going through, one of them was cheese-based, but I decided that my lady love are these NA beers that I started to drink towards the end of last year. So I've been systematically cutting alcohol out of my life for like the last like year or so. But one of I still love the taste of beer. I still love the taste of wine.
Yeah.
I still, and so I don't want, a lot of times when you have like a mocktail or something, it's so sweet.
Yes.
Or it's like, you know what I mean? Or like a flavored seltzer is so sweet. But so these are from a brewery. It's a whole brewery that only does NA beer and it's called Athletic.
Cool.
And they have like a porter. They have all the different varieties and they taste like actual microbrews. This is not a paid endorsement, everybody, but it's called Athletic. I buy it through a subscription because I live in a very rural area. I can't always get it, but you can get it at Binny's if you have a Binny's by you or like whatever your big liquor store is, they should be able to get it. And they do these special seasonal ones. Like they had one called Lodge Life that was like a winter dark. They do all different kinds of IPAs and stuff like that. So whatever kind of beer you like, I'm positive they have one for you. They have one that's like a Corona that you can put some lime in. It's like super great in the summer. And I do this subscription so you can mix and match which ones you get. So like I can change and swap out and stuff like that and get stuff sent to me. So it's really nice. It's called Athletic Brewing Company. There's other ones. There's another one called Bravus that I have tried that is okay. And there's a bunch of varieties that are coming out now. And there's a whole bunch of, if you follow like Sober Curious or a bunch of different hashtags, there's a bunch of different things out there.
Oh, cool.
But this one's by far my favorite NA brewery that I have.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I can drink this beer with you tonight and have this like clear head and remember all of my details.
That's really
and still
nice.
drink a beer that tastes like a beer.
That really, yeah. Because sometimes all I want is like the feeling. Like, I just want the idea that I'm drinking wine. But then at the end of the night, I'm like, oh no, I'm so sleepies.
I know.
Oh no.
So I do have I have drank this brand called Shirley, Surely, and they have really great sparkling that tastes like actual sparkling wine, but it's wine with the alcohol removed.
Whoa.
The red is not fabulous.
Okay.
But their Sauvignon Blanc is pretty good. So if you like a sweeter wine, they do pretty good. But their bubbling, their sparkling, they have a rosé and they have a regular just sparkling wine. And I think they taste just like sparkling wine. So you can like do faux mimosas and stuff like that.
Ooh.
And, day drink and that, and then still like function in the afternoon.
Yeah, completely. All right. My lady love is...
Yes.
As we bravely venture into year 3 of the pandemic, pick up an old hobby, everybody. Just pick up an old hobby. I don't know if I think I might have talked about this on the podcast, but it's like bringing me the greatest joy. I have started crocheting again. Not only have I started crocheting again, but I've like decided that it's time for me to learn different stitches.
Fun. Because
really, I usually only do a half double crochet or a double crochet, and like that's it. I made a whole therapy blanket when a few years back, and now I'm making a blanket for Valor, and I just. Especially for like my ADHD brain, if I'm sitting and I'm trying to do something, it really just the movement of my hands and like being able to go back and forth between things, it's so helpful. And it's so like, it's almost like meditative. Yeah. Like once you get into the groove and learn the stitch. And then I look at it and I'm like, look at what I just fucking did. I fucking made that. It's going to keep you warm as fuck. Like that shit is cozy. And it makes me so happy. Yeah.
Yes. I've always been really envious of people that can crochet or knit or whatever, cross stitch, and do other things. Kind of like how I can't listen to audiobooks and do anything else. Like if I'm knitting, I have to be sitting and only knitting. So therefore it is like forced. So I don't knit because it's like, I also have cats, small cats, and and it doesn't always work.
No, they would murder that yarn ball.
Heck yeah. So, but I'm always so envious of people who can like knit and crochet and do those things.
I mean, one of my favorite things to do is audiobook and crochet.
It's a twofer.
It's like the best. But, I'll do it when we're like watching a movie I'm not like that I don't have to pay attention to or whatever. Yeah. And it's just really nice. Or if I'm anxious, like if I just get anxious and I need to put my energy somewhere, I'm just going to crochet for a minute. And then afterwards, I feel so great. So pick up an old hobby, especially if it is sort of meditative and it makes you feel good and productive and it helps your brain.
Absolutely. Pick up that old hobby.
Yeah. All right. So you can find us everywhere. We're at Heaving Bosoms on Instagram, at Heaving_bosoms on Twitters. You can email us, heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com.
You will probably get a response from me.
Yes, Natalie's gonna do it. I do respond every once in a while, but
sometimes, yes.
But if I was in charge of the email, nobody would get emails. It's just the truth. It's an anxiety giver to me.
Yeah. I can do other people's inboxes. I can't do my own.
Ha. So, we're all those places, and you should check out the website because it's beautiful, and it's got all the things on it. The Reading Embrace is there. You can get to our Patreon there.
You can sign up for book club, and there might even be celebrity guests that show up.
Holy shit. Do you remember that time Sally Thorne showed up to book club? I cannot believe it. I was just like, I mean, maybe I'll just send her the link and see what happens. And then she came. Oh,
she came. And Sally Thorne is all of us who are trying to get their work job done and want to do literally anything else.
Yeah. She's just like,
this Zoom is happening right now.
This seems like very, very important. This random Zoom with random people. Yeah. And then you can find Natalie all the places too, because she's just Ask Nat.
I'm just Ask Nat at pretty much all platforms. I am not taking clients right now. I'm full.
That's right.
At least until April.
She's too good at her job, everybody.
Pretty cool. That's a cool thing.
Fuck
Look
off,
how far
everyone.
we've come.
I have got her in my clutches.
Yes.
Plus other people, but like I'll shove them out soon too. It's fine. It's fine. All right. Keep being a badass.
I have one.
Yes.
and love yourself as much as you love waxing poetic about that asshole.
Yeah! More rimming in romance.
Yes.
That's what we
everybody.
want. Just do it.
Right. I mean, I'm sure it's tricky.
Right.
But we need to make this commitment.
You can do it. Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.